Try this again.
Test 1, 2, 3. Okay. All right, Mike. We are live. Sorry for those technical difficulties. That's always Murphy's Law, right? We'll edit that out. So again, now you've had practice. We are live. Sorry for those. Go ahead and give us an introduction of who is Mike.
Absolutely. So thank you for having me. Thank you to the Pittsburgh Chamber of Commerce, and thank you to the Pittsburgh community. You have just welcomed us with open arms, and we very much appreciate it. My name is Mike Barbanica. I'm running for Contra Costa County Supervisor, District 5. I have a long-standing history with the city of Pittsburgh. I actually retired from the police department here as a lieutenant, spent 21 years in Pittsburgh, met my wife who grew up in the city of Pittsburgh, went to Pittsburgh High. She was at Costanza, and some of you may know her, Christine Costanza. Met her while I was working for the police department, and we ended up ultimately starting a family. Our son works my old beat for the city of Pittsburgh. He's a Pittsburgh police officer. Our daughter is a prosecutor. We come from 3 generations of law enforcement, starting with my mom, then to me, and then to my kids. And so Pittsburgh has been a great community for us. Throughout my career, there's 2 places that we lived. We went back and forth from time to time between Pittsburgh and Antioch, especially with my wife growing up here. So we have deep roots in the city of Pittsburgh, a lot of family here. So it's very important to us. So thank you for having us. I'm also a member, or thank you for having me. I'm also a member of the Antioch City Council, and my term on the council is getting ready to come to an end, and hopefully we'll be moving on to County Supervisor, District 5.
All right, so thank you for that. Those watching may have watched our interview for the primaries.
Yes.
They may have seen videos, watched YouTube. Between then and now, there's been a lot of information out there about each candidate. So I think if you don't yet know Mike, you can go online. What's your website?
Website is mikebarbanica.com. We also have a Facebook page. You can search us either way. You can actually reach out to us through the website. And I would encourage anybody that wants to get together, maybe do a meet and greet, come into your home, meet some of your neighbors. I would absolutely love to do that. We're doing that pretty regular right now, especially as this campaign winds down. You got to remember, we've been at this now for well over a year. With an early primary in March, we had to start some time ago. So it's not new to us sitting down and talking with people. We actually very much enjoy that. So anybody that would like that, please reach out through the website, mikebarbanica.com, and we're happy to try to set something up with you.
Okay, so there you have it. That's how you can reach out to Mike, get to know more about him. So let's go right for it, 100 miles an hour.
Yeah.
Unhoused. Okay. Here in Pittsburgh, much like a lot of the East County, even the greater Bay Area, it's problematic. It's problematic for those that are unhoused, right? Because nobody wakes up and says, I want to be homeless.
Right.
But it's problematic for businesses that a lot of times are impacted by this, residents. It's just a big mess, right? Yep. So what do you have to say? What are we going to do about it? What would you do if elected?
So with the unhoused situation that we have, this is not just a local problem. This is statewide, and a lot of places throughout the United States are having very similar issues. But let's just take our local area here. You have to ask yourself, how many hundreds of millions of dollars have been spent on this, and what have we seen as a result? I hate to say very little, but truly very little. You can drive down the street, you see debris on the side of the roads, encampments. And so I have spent a lot of time going to encampments in District 5, talking with people and asking people, are you willing to get into bridged housing, into something that can get you into long-term housing? There are some people that are okay with doing that, and some choose not to do that. But I do believe that we are spending as a county a lot of money, and we're not seeing the results that we should be seeing. So I plan on coming in and taking a very hard look on where that money was spent, where it came from, what worked and what didn't work, and what can we do to adjust the programs that are out there to actually get people into long-term housing. Being homeless or being unhoused is not a crime. We all know that is very, very true. But there are things that go along with that. So you have folks that are unhoused through no fault of their own, and they want to get back into getting a job and getting into a home, those types of things. Programs are out there, and we need to expand those and help those folks to get off the street. Then there are people that are in need of mental health help. We want to make sure that that help is available to residents to help get them off the street. There are people with drug addiction that are out there that need help with drug addiction to get off the street. And then there are some that choose to, when offered a place to go, that choose to stay where they're at. That's their choice. But if that is the case, and somebody is choosing to stay where they're at, and I know this because I've gone to the encampments, and some people tell me, yes, I would love to get into a program, I would love to get off the street, and we do what we do to try to help that happen. But for those that choose not to, that is a choice, but it doesn't mean that those individuals can infringe on the rights of others. In other words, camping out in front of your business or your home or private property, bringing crime into those areas. Now, before somebody jumps up and down and says it's not a crime, it's not a crime. Being homeless is not a crime. 100% agree with that. It's what occurs in some of the encampments. CHP did a detail with one of their investigative units in East County. And during that investigative work that they did, they found dozens of stolen vehicles. They found stolen guns. They found heroin. They found ammunition. Those types of things in some of these encampments. So you have different categories of people. People that are there not by choice and want to get into long-term housing. We need to help in that situation. People that are there by choice and choose not to go anywhere, that is their choice, but they do not have the right to infringe on your quiet enjoyment of your community. And then people that need mental health help and drug help. This is also why I'm a proponent of Prop 36, to help get people into programs and resolve these issues. When we're looking at things, and I am a proponent of Prop 36, when we're looking at situations around our community and we see Prop 47, for those of you that are unaware of Prop 47, all this goes hand in hand. Prop 47 is essentially what happened when voters, and there were unintended consequences, voted in Prop 47, which essentially changed the laws on retail theft, the value of items that were stolen before somebody can be charged with, say, a felony. And think about it. How many times have you walked into Target or Walmart or wherever and seen people running out with shopping carts full of items? We actually know of cases where people have gone in and calculated out exactly what the dollar amount was in the cart so they could move into or be safe from felony prosecution. It is my belief Prop 36 is going to help reverse some of the negative effects of Prop 47, and that's why I am a strong proponent of it. So all of these things kind of work hand in hand. We do have situations where we have police officers that have gone into encampments and found large amounts of merchandise that are in the encampments, and we found police officers have reported back that some of these items have been sold or they're being used by folks in the encampment. Now, I am not saying that everybody running in stealing somewhere is coming from an encampment. That is not the case. What I am saying is that we need to start looking at the bigger picture and saying, okay, we have homeless issues. Why is somebody homeless? Can we help them? Are they there by choice? Yes or no? If they are there by choice, they cannot infringe in your quiet enjoyment of your property. If it's a mental health thing, let's get them the help. If it is a drug thing, let's get them the help. But at the same time, if it is something where items are coming back into the encampment and being dispersed out as a result of theft, Prop 36 is going to deal with that and deal with getting people the mental health help potentially that is needed, as well as drug.
So, yeah,
it's kind of a long answer.
Yeah, no, it's a good answer. There's a lot to unpack there, and I think Prop 36 has a lot of potential. I personally don't have a lot of faith in it because Sacramento, we'll see. I think it's going to help. Something needs to be done because we have businesses that are just getting, outright. People are walking in and just stealing.
But you guys have lost Target, you've lost Joann Fabrics, and this is as a result of the bigger picture. When Prop 47 was enacted, it didn't take that long until people realized that we can go into these stores and take whatever we want to take.
Less,
exactly, and then walk right out the door. So it is a first step into a direction. Yeah. Is it a cure-all? No, nothing is perfect in these laws, but we can't keep it as is.
Right, I agree. So I think a lot of people don't what does a county supervisor do? Is Mike, if elected, is he going to drive around and start, cleaning up encampments? No, it's you're facilitating budget, making allocations, and analyzing data from the organizations that work with the county and the departments that work with the county. So,
and looking at where to spend that money, where to spend county money, where to spend Measure X money. Are the areas in District 5 getting their fair share of Measure X? Because you're paying into the sales tax for it. Are you getting out of Measure X what you're putting into it?
Yeah. So as a supervisor, how do you see yourself, the experiences that you've had both as law enforcement and as a business owner, helping with that process of reviewing the data? Because I think that's the most important part, is reviewing the data. Do you think that the county is currently collecting the right data to even make a decision?
Well,
or what would you change in that process?
The first thing that I would do is I would assign staff members to start pulling that data and looking at where is that money going, and then we would regularly meet on that. Where is the money going? How is it being spent? Is it effective? Or is it just being thrown into a hole? This is your money. This is your taxpayer money. The other thing is, very first, as soon as I get into office, I will be reaching out to members of within District 5, every city council, and offering every council member within District 5 to have a one-on-one meeting where I can sit down, talk with them about issues in their city, what is going on, how can we help, where has the county dropped the ball and not been there to support those council members? Because you got to figure, from a county level, you have a large district. District 5 is it's the biggest district within the county geographically. And so this starts at the Antioch Bridge and goes all the way to Hercules. So from the Antioch Bridge all the way to Hercules, I would like to meet with every council member and find out, what can we do at a county level from your perspective to a city council, from your perspective, what can we do to assist you to make your city a better place, a safer place? And then that gets into public safety as well. I'm huge on public safety. Coming from a law enforcement background, having a son and a daughter now in that field as well, it's very important to me to make sure that we have public safety. And if that means investing more in public safety, but that also is going to be as a result of the conversation with each of these council members, to sit down and say, where are we not servicing you at a county level? In addition to that, I would like to meet with every police chief within District 5 and talk with every police chief and find out, where is it that you need help? Same thing with fire, emergency services across the board. So we have a lot of work. The person that's been in the office now has been there 24 years. Whoever takes this office, when I get in there, I want to make sure that we have open lines of communication with all of these council members and police administration, as well as city administration.
But that's assuming that those people are in touch with their community. So, for example, collecting this data and all this, I haven't mentioned businesses, and I think a lot, like it was just reported that crime is down, right?
Yes.
That's because businesses have given up on reporting, right?
Agreed.
And
Agreed.
people are just like, throwing their hands up. Some businesses are leaving, some are downsizing, whatever. So how do businesses and the outreach to businesses play into this? How would you, because right now I don't think that happens. When we look at, I don't want a blanket statement. It does happen, but as far as systemically, I don't think there is a board or a department or some regular mechanism for county to interact with businesses at the 3 different tiers of small, medium, and enterprise. For the most part, businesses, when they're interacting with the county, it's because there's a fine or an assessment coming down the pipe, and that's it. So how would you change that, or would you change that, or how would you interact with businesses when it comes to not just everything, but staying on the vein of dealing with homelessness?
So I've already started meeting with businesses. I'm out in District 5 every day. We've been campaigning for over a year. So I'm out in District 5, whether it be Hercules, or I'm in Antioch, or I'm in Pittsburgh, or I'm in Martinez. We have met with business owners, and we will continue to do that because I want to hear from their perspective. I will tell you across the board what I hear when every time I sit down, whether we're sitting down over coffee or it's just a phone conversation, every time I sit down, I hear a consistent message, and that is they feel forgotten. They feel as though they have no contact, very little contact at a county level, if any at all. And some feel very forgotten by their council members. Now, again, out of respect, I understand council members are very busy. For most council members, it is not a full-time job. I very much understand that. But when we sit down and meet with the council members, we'll be able to see very quickly who is in touch with their community and who is not in touch with their community. And it's not meant to be a gotcha type thing. This is meant to identify that and know what can we do to help you along those lines. When things are missing within the community, is a county supervisor going to go in there and solve every problem for every council member? No, council members need to take their own responsibility. But I do feel that many council members feel, many business owners feel, that there is no open line of communication, and that's the place to start. So I've already started meeting with business owners, and I will continue to do that.
Do you see any way to make it, because right now, assuming you get elected, that's one person. How do we make it more so that businesses have a seat at the table, opposed to just one dedicated elected official who's trying to do outreach, but it's part of the process?
You have to start small. You have to start the process initially, which I've already started by meeting with people that are in business, meeting with people that are influencers in the community as far as their local business. If you take somebody that owns a local business that's been in the community for years and years and years, that is kind of a hub within that community. We don't want to see those go away. We want to make sure that we're working with those owners and have an open line of communication with those owners. A business owner or a citizen should be able to reach out to a supervisor's office and get a response back. Now, I want to be very upfront. There's almost 400,000 people in this district. That's why supervisors have staff. So you will have supervisors at time where you're speaking directly to a supervisor or a council member or maybe a staff member. But we need to start. You need to start somewhere, and I believe I already have started. And as that continues to grow, you never know what that can turn into in the future as far as having regular meetings with businesses in the community. The needs of a business in, say, Pittsburgh or Hercules, those needs may be different depending on what needs are being satisfied by their local government. They have some challenges maybe that another one doesn't have. However, the basic needs of being able to go out there and operate their business and have a business flourish and bring people in, those are pretty universal across the board. Every business needs to be able to market their business to the community, have a safe place for people to come to. And if residents don't feel that it's safe to go to a business, they won't be there, which brings us right back to public safety, which brings us right back to the encampment issue, which brings us right back to Prop 36 and talking about in Prop 47 what we're talking about. A lot of this is interrelated. So we need to start looking at across the board. There is not one fix. Prop 36 isn't going to be the only fix. However, Prop 36 is a good start to reverse the unintended consequences of Prop 47. And then when you look at dealing with what are we doing with unhoused residents and where are we spending our money and is it effective and what can we do to adjust that, there's another step. Then when you look at what can we do in meeting with the council members at a county level to give them more support, there's another step. Same thing with local business owners, residents within the community. So this is, you're building a community as you go. It's not just one fix and done. This is a long-term project.
So normally when somebody's running for office, they're running against the incumbent or the person who's already in office, and the challenger, your job is to make it sound like they're doing a terrible job and that's why you got elected me. In this case, we don't have that. So to end the conversation on homelessness, what's, in your opinion, one thing that you feel the county is doing correctly to address that problem?
So I like the fact that the state of California, it turned over Delta Landing to the county. The state of California came in, they purchased that, and it's not being run at a state level. The county is administering that program. But I do believe the county needs some expertise or some help in that area to get people through that system faster and then out into permanent housing, which means we need to partner with landlords within the area, because if we can get people into permanent housing, we can free up a room to get somebody else in that area. A lot of money has been invested in this, and I appreciate what the county has done with investing that money, but I don't know, and we're going to audit it and find out where it's going and what's working and what's not. I don't know that it's been the best use of the money, and that's what we're going to find out, and hopefully make adjustments to that with the support, hopefully, of other supervisors to get those things pushed through.
So transitioning over to the next topic around crime, because that's, you know, the three topics that we kind of see businesses talk the most about are homelessness, crime, and then blight. And you touched upon how with homelessness there is an overlap with crime, not always, and we're not saying everybody that's homeless is a criminal.
Exactly.
I hope people will hear that message, but there is an overlap, and then it spills out into the community at large. But to look at other types of crimes, so like sideshows, you know, that's an issue that's come up. We have a lot of people that will say, quote unquote, you know, well, the DA doesn't prosecute, right? So although the district attorney is an elected official that is part of the county, how do you see supervisor and district attorney working together?
My goal would be, well, first off, I've been endorsed by all of the attorneys at the DA's office. So the deputy district attorneys within Contra Costa County DA's office have endorsed me through their association. Also, the DA investigators also have endorsed me, as has pretty much all the law enforcement agencies, Con Fire, Rodeo Hercules Fire, El Cerrito Fire, Orinda Moraga Fire. So we have quite a bit of endorsements when it comes to law enforcement. That is something that is very, very important to me, is public safety. That is my number one as far as going into office. Public safety, dealing with unhoused residents or homelessness, and dealing with blight. And that has been from the start of this campaign. Those have all been a very big issue for me. We need to work with the DA's office. Now, does the Board of Supervisors control the money going to the DA's office? Yes, they do. However, that is hopefully will never become an issue, and I would like to work with the DA's office to make sure that we have crime being prosecuted properly within the county. I do believe that the DA's office is prosecuting violent type felonies. I do believe that. However, where I see this lagging or lax in this is the lower level crimes, if you will, but they're the quality of life crimes. They're the quality of life crimes that make you say, you know what, it's 9 o'clock at night. I don't really feel comfortable with going to the store at 9 o'clock at night, or sending my spouse to the store or my children to the store. Those are the issues that we need to be focusing on. I do believe going back to Prop 36, that's going to help. But then we need to hold the DA's office accountable once Prop 36 passes to make sure that we're not using Prop 47 as an excuse anymore, and that we actually are prosecuting these types of crimes. Being under the influence of drugs and needing mental health, those two things, we can get folks into programs, statewide programs. When I was at Pittsburgh for 6 years, I worked a street team. I ran the team, actually. And I worked with great officers, and we did everything from enforcing narcotics laws, loitering laws, under the influence laws, any street crime laws. And then we did buys, whether they were heroin, cocaine, methamphetamine, whatever the buys were, prostitutes, you name it. We made arrests, and we got people through the programs or through the system into programs. And I still have people that I arrested back in the day when I was here on the street that got, as a result of the arrest, got into a program and turned their lives around, and they're a success story. I have one gentleman who got into drug counseling after that, counseling others, and he never misses a birthday or a holiday. He calls me every year and knows when my birthday is, calls me, knows when, Christmas, calls me, New Year's, calls me, just to say, I'm just checking in and thank you, and the program worked. At the time, he wasn't happy, he was being arrested, but the court forced the ability for him to be into a program or go to jail. He chose a program, it turned his life around. There's no reason we can't keep doing those things.
So how, obviously you're only one vote,
Mm-hmm.
Well, it takes a majority vote to make actions fly at council level and also at the supervisor level. How do you get everybody else on board with that message, if that's the message that you're going to come to office with? Because some of them don't view it that way.
Going into the council in the city of Antioch, I was told that I would not be able to get anything through at all. And it's been just the opposite. I made sure that we got pushed through the body cams for officers, car cams for officers. We doubled the size of code enforcement. And I had 3 other council members that supported that, doubling the size of code enforcement. I was able to get, and it took me a while, but I got it through. I was able to get the sideshow ordinance through. And not only a sideshow ordinance, but a sideshow ordinance where we can cite the people that are involved, actually in the sideshow, planning the sideshow, and being an observer at the sideshow, a participant observer, not somebody stuck in traffic watching a sideshow, a participant observer. And these are just off the top of my head, the things that I was able to get through. Pushing to make sure that the officers were outfitted with safety equipment, those types of things. We had so many things that we were able to get through, and it's funny now hearing, he hasn't pushed anything through in the city of Antioch. I heard a supporter of my opponent say that. And we looked at it and said, have they been watching any of these meetings and seeing what has been pushed through? I believe sideshow ordinance, that should be enforced county-wide. So to say that there's other folks within the Board of Supervisors that I wouldn't be able to work with, I don't believe that to be true. I've been able to work and get things pushed through on the council that I'm on now, hearing every day you'll never get these things through, and it's been absolutely the opposite. I'm able to work and willing to work with anybody who would like me to work with them, sit down, talk with them. The key is sitting down with them ahead of time, hearing their perspective, hearing my perspective, and coming to a happy medium. And I've been very fortunate to be able to do that. And I have a lot of respect for the people that have done that with me and put aside the rhetoric of, well, you're very different, the two of you are very different. No, let's sit down and see where our common ground is. Ken Carlson, who is a county supervisor, and I went to the police academy together, and Candace Anderson I've met with multiple times. We're very much, all 3 of us, very much are pushing for public safety. And I believe the new majority, for lack of a better term with that new majority would be a key thing to the county. It's no secret that I did not endorse the current DA that is in office. That's no secret. I've publicly come out and said that. My stance on that, or my reason for that, is I'm very much public safety. I want the laws enforced. And as long as we have a DA willing to do that, enforce these laws, and hold people accountable for their actions, I'm very supportive of that. But when that lags behind, I am not. So I do believe I'll be able to work with every one of the supervisors. I've already have a relationship with Ken Carlson, County Supervisor, and I'm developing one with Candace Anderson. And I'm very, very willing to work with the other two and develop that same strong relationship.
So District 5, as you mentioned, covers a wide area that covers a pretty diverse area when it comes to businesses. We have small home-based businesses all the way up to large refineries.
Right.
So not every district has that breadth of types of businesses.
Yep.
So what do you think are some of the largest challenges when it comes to crime and business? And then the second part of that would be, how do you see the county supervisors being able to help with that? Because a lot of the areas are, incorporated cities, and so you can't just say, okay, this is a law over here now. So what are the crime challenges that businesses are facing in District 5, and then how do you see supervisors being able to help with that?
So in looking at this, going back to meeting with every representative that's willing to meet with me in District 5, so every council member, every mayor, the police chiefs, and having a relationship with them, an ongoing relationship where they can pick up the phone and get on the phone with me at any time. They shouldn't need to make an appointment with my scheduler and say, hey, we want to talk to Mike a month down the line or 3 weeks down the line. They should be able to text or call me and say, hey, I need to talk to you, and that becomes a priority. That, along with relationships with the businesses, and the difference is a small business's problems may be very different than you mentioned a refinery or a large factory. Those problems may be very, very different problems. It works when you get to know those folks and you have relationships with them, and you can sit down with them and say, tell me what's going on, tell me where you need the help, what do we need to do to help make this a success. I want to be clear that it's not just throwing money at issues. That's not the answer, to just throw money at something. The answer really is, does that happen where money is involved? Yes, of course, we know that. But it's not just, hey, I have a problem, throw money at it. It's what caused this problem? What have you done to resolve this problem? What has your local police department done? What has your local city council done? It's holding people accountable to not just keep pointing the finger and saying, well, call your supervisor, call your council member. Mm-hmm. This should be an ongoing relationship. And the difference with businesses, what we find is the problems that a very small independent business has, there may be some similarities, but often they're quite different than a large employer. So it's going to be dependent on what their needs are at the time.
Okay, so let's take refineries. They tend to have a bullseye on them by the county, and some could argue that the county is pushing refineries out, and although they contribute a lot of good to the area, what crime challenges do you see at that level?
Well, I would need to sit down with the refineries, and I've already met with the refineries, as I've met with small businesses, larger businesses in the area, and I've sat down and held these conversations. But those conversations that I've held so far have been around safe operation. So it has not, as time develops, we'll get into more with them of what help they need. Are there crime issues that they're having? Are they not? My key to this has been, I want safe operations of the refinery. We're not looking to have refineries that have continuous releases and leaks. What we're looking for is if the refinery is here, that they're safely operating that. So as time goes on, we will continue to develop that relationship and learn of their issues. But my meetings so far with them have been specifically geared around the importance that I feel of safe operations within the refineries.
So, transitioning the conversation a little bit. So, most of the refineries are along what's called the Northern Waterfront, and Federal Glover, who holds a seat now, has championed this Northern Waterfront initiative for quite a while.
Right.
Would you continue that work? Would you change the work, abandon the work? What are your thoughts on Northern Waterfront? And because that's, as far as the county and specifically District 5, that's one of the largest areas for potential economic growth.
Yeah. So my plan with that is to immediately assign somebody that as a project that I will be working with them. In addition to that, I want to meet with, when we're talking about the Northern Waterfront, all the cities that it affects. So I want to hear their ideas of what they're looking for in their Northern Waterfront. What is it that they're after? At the same time, when we're looking at that development, we also want to look at what impacts is that going to have on the environment. So it's multifaceted. It's not just let's develop this area here. You have to take into consideration, how does that affect that community? What does that community want out of it? What do those residents want out of it? And what are we doing to safeguard, to make sure that we not only are safeguarding the environment and we don't all of a sudden develop something that we're looking at in the future saying, this was unintended, we didn't realize that this would cause whatever it's causing. And so we want to make sure that that communication is open. And this program or project has been here for some time. I would like to see if this is going to stay in place and if this is going to continue on, what can we do to take this and actually get it up and running. But the key to that is to start with each of those cities individually that are affected with Northern Waterfront and find out what it is they're looking for and what it is that they want in the future within their community.
So I'm going to give you 2 words to answer this question. Is it the county's authority or the city's authority to control their waterfront?
Well,
2 words.
You can't answer that in 2 words, and I'll tell you why. If you look at a map,
sure you could. You can say local control.
Yeah, if you look at a map, you have areas, for example, like Rodeo and Crockett that are right on the water, and that falls with the county. And then you have areas, for example, if you look at a map in the city of Pittsburgh, their property line goes out into the Delta. So you can't just answer that with one question. That's why you have to work with each of these cities to find out what it is that they're looking for on their Northern Waterfront and try to work with them. It's not just a one answer. And again, you have unincorporated areas. You have Bay Point, unincorporated, Rodeo, unincorporated, Crockett. Those areas that are unincorporated that do not have a city controlling them. So there is no one quick answer to that.
Okay.
Does
So
that make sense?
Yeah, no, it makes sense.
Yeah.
I think for me it's, allowing city, because that's one of the things we're seeing right now, the state telling cities, no, you got to do it this way, and local control is like under attack, right? And
well, when we're talking state, that's a different
but county too tries to flex muscle on cities.
I hear what you're saying, but when I'm coming into this position, I'm coming in to try to work with all the individual cities. What I will say is that I do feel from time to time, often, I see the state stepping in saying you must do this to a city, and I want the local control retained at that level. If we're talking about a state level, then I want the local control retained for the city at that level, instead of stripping the city councils of the authority to approve or not approve projects. That needs to be local control. But if we're talking specifically development of the Northern Waterfront in the county, that is just in District 5 alone. You have cities that control their Northern Waterfront, and then you have unincorporated areas that are controlled by the county.
Yeah, no, I agree. So those unincorporated areas, I think often feel like they've been forgotten. I've heard both you and your opponent talk about their interactions with some of these cities and that they feel like they're just not there. And I see county ordinances come out that talk about unincorporated areas, and you drive through them, and it's clearly not the same level of service, I would say. So
not even close.
How do you see yourself changing that?
Holding people accountable in the county system to make sure. I was driving through Bay Point the other day, and I'm out in the Shore Acres area, and I stopped and I was talking with residents. And I see on the north side of the area that I was in piles of garbage, encampments. And I asked the residents, has the county not come out and done anything about this? How long has this been here? And the residents had told me, we don't remember a time that it wasn't. Now, I'm sure at some point it's been cleaned up, no doubt. However, the perception of the residents in those areas are that they have been forgotten. So I look at this as an opportunity to hold code enforcement and those organizations accountable. But the real question is this: has there been a supervisor willing to work with those organizations? Here's one of the things that I, in the city of Antioch, did and pushed for, and that was at the time when staffing was available for that. One of the things that I pushed for was each council member to have somebody assigned to them for projects within their district. And it was very, very successful. There's no reason we can't do the same at a county level of having somebody working with that county supervisor's office, especially in those areas with a lot of unincorporated or waterfront area where you have the need for that code enforcement, or you have the need for county services to come in that area and make sure that it's clean. The key to it is they shouldn't wonder who their supervisor is or who their supervisor, how to get a hold of the staff, how to get a hold of the supervisor themselves. They should not wonder what is going on with our supervisor. That supervisor should be very engaged, and the engagement literally starts on day one of working with the cities to try to initially develop that relationship while you're working with residents and find out what is it that you're looking for.
Because, kind of the last topic, blight and unincorporated areas, that's where the county has control over that. Mm-hmm. And I think personally a lot of it is because leadership capacity in these unincorporated areas, either you could say that people defer to the county to do it for them, or it just doesn't get done. How do you see yourself as a supervisor helping to build leadership capacity in these communities?
It's already started. I've had people from Bay Point, from Crockett, from Port Costa, from Rodeo, these unincorporated towns that have reached out to me and said, we're waiting for you to get elected. We want to step in and get involved in leadership. We want to be on a board. We want to be a voice for this community, but we have felt over the years that that hasn't been the case. Now, keep in mind, this is not me trying to diminish somebody's 24-year career. What I'm doing is just saying, here's what the residents are telling me. And I have them coming out in force, inviting me into their communities, asking me if they can get involved once this election is over. How can they get on a board? How can they make a difference? People want to do that, but they want to know that they're being heard. So you have to start building those with local folks to get involved in their own community right out the gate.
Yeah, because it's, I was just in another community over this weekend in a different state, and you don't see blight, you don't see trash, and you're like, oh, are these people just different? Like, what's the scenario? And I think it's that, pride in your community and having leadership, and when people don't feel that they're being listened to or heard, who cares then?
Yeah, and that's what, when I mentioned the Bay Point, when I had people that had told me we don't remember a time that it hasn't been like this, when somebody tells you that, they've given up. They've given up on help from local government, in this case, county government. They've said, what's the point? Why would we call? They're not listening. And when I drive into Rodeo, I hear the same thing. Why would we do something about this, or why would we make a call? Because nobody's listening. That's sad, and they should never feel that nobody's listening.
Well, I think that goes back to our first topic, the business community. I think a lot of members of the business community have the same feeling about whether it's crime or blight or whatever. It's just why spend my time going through the process when I know nothing's going to happen? Might as well just hunker down and help my business grow, and I'm just going to do my thing.
Yeah.
How do you speak to those people that have given up, whether it's in unincorporated areas or businesses, but the people just feel like there's no point in interacting or engaging with local government because why?
So when I was here in the city of Pittsburgh, I had Chief Baker come to me when I was a sergeant, and he said, crime in certain areas of this community are out of control. We've got street level drug dealing, we've got drug houses, we have drug sales, prostitution, the hotels are out of control with prostitutes going in and drug sales in these areas. And I need you to form a team and go do something and start this. So we started out small, just like you would start in this. You would start out small, local meetings, talking with people locally, getting buy-in from people locally. And as that team started becoming successful, people from the community started seeing that growing and growing and growing. And this will be the same thing. You have to start somewhere, and you have to realize that there's going to be some skepticism, because people are going to feel, is this just going to be more of the same? And that's the big difference that I'm hearing between myself and my opponent. And I will not come on to any podcast or anything and bash my opponent. I just won't do that, no matter what race I happen to be in.
That's good, because we won't allow it. So.
Yeah, so I will not do that. But what I will say that I'm hearing is that people within the community feel that they don't want more of the same, and that's the support that I'm getting of they're looking for that change. And so what
do you think the change is that people are looking for?
Commitment, involvement, being present, understanding the homeless issue, understanding blight, understanding public safety, and being willing to do something about it.
Okay. Well, I want to thank you for your time. We've covered a lot of different topics here, and I think it's important for people to hear more than just what's on the mailer or what's on a Facebook post or whatever it may be, or worse, what their friends told them about somebody, right?
Yeah.
So,
or when you have the fake mail pieces coming out and all that, it's just it's sad. It's just sad. And what I say to anybody running for office, go after them on their voting record, on their stances on things. Don't make things up. And that's been my stance along the way. I've told our campaign the same thing. Don't make things up. Pull actual numbers, pull actual voting records, and look at, instead of making something up, let's look at what's the truth.
Mm-hmm. Well, and that's why we do this format. It's a very different format than most forums or things. It's just conversational, a riff on different topics, and see where the conversation goes. And I want to thank you for your time. I want to give you the opportunity to give any closing remarks or anything that you'd like to give the voters. We do have ballots have already been mailed out. You should have those in your home. Election is coming up in November, but you can turn your ballots in before then. So with that, give the time over to you.
Sure. Thank you for having me. I very much appreciate it. Again, my name is Mike Barbanica, running for Contra Costa County Supervisor, District 5. My background is law enforcement and dealing with these issues, small business owner, so I understand what it's like to have to make payroll, and I understand what it's like to have employees that have to pay their bills and have and make sure that they have security. Along those lines, I have been in this community and seen change in this community, and people are looking for change. They're not looking for more of the same, and I very much appreciate that. And that's what our campaign very much represents, is some change coming in with a very different understanding on public safety, dealing with homelessness and dealing with blight in the area, and being willing to work with those city councils within this district, the entire District 5, all the way from the bridge to Hercules, to make sure that we at a county level are there to support them with the projects that they're working on and where they want to take their city. The county supervisor doesn't come in and take over a city, but a county supervisor should be willing to work with all those elected officials and that administration to make sure we can help that city flourish. And that's what we'll be doing. I thank you for considering me for your vote November 5th, and Again, MikeBarbanica.com. Feel free to reach out at any time. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And we will be having the interviews of other candidates for not only Pittsburgh City Council, but also County Supervisor and other races. So please stay tuned. You'll be able to watch those live on Facebook, YouTube channel. We'll have them posted on our website, mypittsburghchamber.org. And it's just our commitment to helping inform voters and allowing them to have more information so that they can make their decision. But we do ask you make a decision. It's important to vote, and it's a way to help drive the community in the direction that you would like. So with that, have a great day, and we'll see you in our next interview.
Thank you. Bye-bye.